All right, let's get right into it today. You know, everyone's talking about web analytics these days, but I feel like we only ever hear the surface level stuff.
Right.
Like, oh, you need to track your website traffic and see how many people are clicking on your ads.
Yeah,
But today we're going deeper.
definitely.
We're talking about using web analytics to actually understand human behavior.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
With us today is an expert from Acalytica who's going to help us unlock all these secrets.
Happy to be here.
So, Acalytica, you guys have some incredible tools and research on this topic.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while now, and it's amazing to see how the field has evolved.
Yeah, so let's jump right in.
Yeah.
I mean, when we talk about understanding user behavior, what are we actually talking about here? What kind of behaviors can we actually track and analyze using web analytics?
Well, I mean, at the most basic level, we're talking about tracking things like, mouse clicks, page views, how long people are staying on a particular page, where they're coming from before they land on your site, what kind of device they're using, all that good stuff.
Okay.
But it goes way beyond just, collecting those basic data points.
Yeah.
The real magic happens when you start to look for patterns and try to understand the why behind the behavior.
So it's like being a detective, you're piecing together clues to understand what makes users tick.
Exactly. Every click, every scroll, every interaction tells us something about what the user is thinking, feeling, and trying to achieve on your website.
Okay, so it's not just about the what, it's about the why.
Exactly.
So how do we actually start to make sense of all this data? I mean, where do we even begin?
Well, a good place to start is with the user journey. And that's where click path analysis comes in.
Click paths. Okay, so that's basically like following the breadcrumbs of user activity on a website, right?
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
So you can see like what pages they're visiting, in what order, how long they're spending on each page, and where they're dropping off.
Exactly. And that can reveal a lot about, what's capturing their attention, what information they're seeking, and perhaps, where they're getting tripped up or frustrated.
Yeah, because, I know for me, if I land on a website and I can't find what I'm looking for within like 5 seconds,
right,
I'm out of there.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's a common behavior.
It definitely is. And that's why, understanding those drop-off points is so crucial.
Okay.
Because it allows you to identify those areas of your website that might be confusing or difficult to navigate.
So like if you're seeing a high drop-off rate on a particular page,
right,
that's a sign that you need to take a closer look and see what might be going wrong.
Exactly. Maybe the page is too cluttered. Maybe the call to action isn't clear enough. Or maybe the information is just not presented in a way that's easy to digest.
So it's like you're putting up all these roadblocks without even realizing it.
Yeah, and then you're wondering why people aren't converting.
Right.
But once you identify those roadblocks, you can start to remove them and create a much smoother, more enjoyable experience for your users.
And Acalytica has actually done research on this, right?
We have.
What have you found in terms of like the impact of using click path analysis to improve the user experience?
Well, one study we did found that companies who use these insights to improve their user journey saw a 55% increase in leads.
55%, that's huge.
Significant, yeah.
That just goes to show you how important it is to really understand how people are interacting with your website and to make sure that you're not unintentionally driving them away.
Absolutely.
So click path analysis, that's one powerful tool.
It is.
But there are other ways to visualize and understand user behavior, right?
Oh, yeah. There are a ton of different tools and techniques we can use, but another one that's really effective is heat maps.
Heat maps. Okay, those sound pretty cool. Tell me more.
So imagine being able to see like a literal heat map of your website.
Okay.
Where the hotspots represent the areas where users are clicking the most, hovering their mouse scroll.
Oh, wow. So it's like having X-ray vision into user attention.
Exactly. You can see at a glance what's hot and what's not.
So like if you have a call to action button that you think is like, front and center and impossible to miss.
Yeah.
But then you look at the heat map and it's like ice cold.
Right.
That's a problem.
That's a sign that something's not working.
Maybe
the button is too small, maybe the color is blending in with the background, or maybe it's just not in a place where people are naturally looking.
So it's not just about what you think looks good, it's about what's actually capturing people's attention.
Precisely. And the beauty of heat maps is that they give you that unbiased, data-driven perspective.
Yeah, you can't argue with the data.
Exactly.
So heat maps, they can tell you a lot about what's grabbing people's attention.
Right.
But they can also reveal unexpected user behavior, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll see these like really hot areas on your heat map that you weren't expecting at all.
Like what kind of unexpected behavior?
Well, for example, you might find that people are clicking on your logo a lot.
Thinking it's a button or something.
Exactly. Or you might see that they're spending an unusual amount of time on a page that you thought was pretty straightforward.
Interesting. So that brings us to another metric, time on page.
Right.
I mean, at first glance, you would think that more time on page is always a good thing, right?
It seems logical.
Like it means people are engaged with your content.
Yeah, but it's not always that simple.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because remember, context is everything.
Oh, okay.
A long time on page could mean that people are really engrossed in your content.
Right.
But it could also be a sign that they're confused or frustrated.
Yeah, like they're reading the same paragraph over and over again, trying to make sense of it.
Exactly. Or they're scrolling up and down endlessly looking for something specific.
Okay, so how do we tell the difference between, good time on page and bad time on page?
That's where things get a little trickier.
Okay.
Because you have to start looking at other metrics in conjunction with time on page.
Like what kind of metrics?
Well, for example, we look at things like scroll depth, which tells us how far down the page that people are actually scrolling.
Oh, okay.
And we also look at bounce rate.
Which is basically how many people are leaving your site after only viewing one page.
Exactly. So let's say, for example, you have a long-form blog post on your website.
Okay.
And you're seeing that people are spending an average of like 5 minutes on that page.
That sounds pretty good.
Which, on the surface, could be a good sign.
Right.
But then you dig a little deeper and you see that the average scroll depth is only like 50%.
Okay.
And the bounce rate is really high.
So they're coming to the page, they're spending a decent amount of time, but they're not actually reading the whole thing.
Exactly. And they're not clicking through to any other pages on your site.
So that's a sign that maybe the content isn't as engaging as you thought it was.
Or maybe it's just not structured in a way that's easy to read and digest.
Interesting. Okay, so we've talked about click paths, we've talked about heat maps, we've talked about time on page.
Right.
What other insights can we glean from web analytics to better understand user behavior?
Well, all of this data that we're collecting can also be used to create more personalized experiences for our users.
Okay, personalization. That's a hot topic these days.
It is.
And for good reason. I think people are really starting to expect more personalized experiences online.
They are.
Like, I know for me, I get so annoyed when I see those generic ads that have nothing to do with my interests.
Right.
Like, come on, you have all this data about me. Show me something I actually care about.
Exactly. And that's the power of personalization, right?
Yeah.
It's about using data to create more relevant and engaging experiences for your users.
So how does that actually work in practice? Like, how can we use web analytics to personalize the user experience?
Well, there are a lot of different ways to approach it.
Okay.
But one common example is personalized content recommendations.
Oh, yeah, like when you're shopping online and you see those, you might also like sections.
Exactly. Or when you're browsing Netflix and you see recommendations for movies and shows that are based on your past viewing history.
Right. So how do we do that with web analytics?
Well, by tracking what pages people are visiting, what content they're engaging with.
Okay.
We can start to build up a profile of their interests and preferences.
Okay.
And then we can use that information to recommend other content that they might find relevant.
So it's like you're playing matchmaker, but instead of matching people with other people, you're matching people with content.
Laughs. Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah, and the best part is that personalization doesn't just benefit the user.
Well,
It also benefits the business.
yeah.
Because when people are seeing content that's relevant to them,
Right.
they're more likely to engage with it,
Okay.
they're more likely to convert, and they're more likely to become loyal customers.
So it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been fascinating so far,
Glad to hear it.
but we're just getting started, right?
We are.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to dive even deeper into the world of web analytics and user behavior. So stay tuned. All right, so before the break, we were talking about using web analytics to create those really personalized experiences for users.
Yeah. Which, honestly, it's not just a nice to have anymore. It's like people expect it.
Oh, definitely.
But what's really cool is that it goes beyond just, recommending products or content.
Right.
You can actually use this data to anticipate user behavior.
Exactly. It's like being a fortune teller, but instead of a crystal ball, you have a data dashboard.
Okay. I like that.
So, for example, Acalytica can actually help businesses identify users who are at risk of churning.
Churning meaning they're about to cancel their subscription or stop using a service.
Exactly.
Okay. So how do we know that? What are the signs?
Well, there are a lot of different factors that can contribute to churn.
Okay.
But some common ones include things like decreased website or app usage.
Makes sense.
Maybe they're not logging in as frequently, or maybe they're not spending as much time on your site or app.
Okay.
You might also see a decrease in engagement.
So like they're not clicking on as many things, they're not opening emails, they're just not as active as they used to be.
Exactly. And another big one is negative feedback. So like if they're leaving bad reviews or complaining on social media.
Or even if they're just contacting customer support more often.
Okay, so once we've identified these at-risk users,
Yeah.
what do we do?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because instead of just letting those users churn, we can actually take proactive steps to try and win them back.
Okay, I'm listening.
So, for example, you could reach out to them with a personalized offer.
Like a discount or something.
Exactly. Or you could offer them some kind of incentive to stay.
Okay, so you're basically saying, hey, we see you're not as engaged as you used to be. What can we do to make things right?
Exactly. It's all about showing those users that you value their business and that you're willing to go the extra mile to keep them happy.
That makes sense because, I mean, let's be real, acquiring new customers is way more expensive than retaining existing ones.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's in every business's best interest to do everything they can to keep those customers happy and engaged.
Precisely. And that's where web analytics can really play a key role.
Because it gives you those insights into what your users are doing, why they're doing it,
Right.
and what you can do to influence their behavior.
Exactly. It's about using data to create a more customer-centric approach.
I love that.
Yeah.
Customer centricity, it's not just a buzzword. It's like
What?
the key to success in today's digital age.
It really is, because at the end of the day, businesses are built on relationships.
Right.
And the stronger the relationship you have with your customers,
Yeah.
the more successful you're going to be.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, this has been eye-opening. I mean, we've talked about so much already, from click paths to heat maps to personalization to churn prediction. It's amazing to think that we can glean all of this valuable information just from how people interact with websites and apps.
I know, it's incredible, isn't it?
It is, and what's even more exciting is that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yeah. The world of web analytics is constantly evolving.
So what's next? What trends are you most excited about?
Well, one thing that I'm really interested in is the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning in web analytics.
Okay, yeah, AI is everywhere these days.
It is, and for good reason. I mean, it has the potential to revolutionize the way we collect, analyze, and interpret data.
So how will that actually play out in the world of web analytics?
Well, for example, imagine being able to use AI to automatically personalize the user experience in real time.
Oh, wow. So instead of just showing people generic recommendations,
Right.
you could actually tailor the website or app experience to their individual needs and preferences at that very moment.
Exactly. Or imagine being able to use AI to predict customer behavior with even greater accuracy.
So you could proactively reach out to customers before they even know they need something.
Exactly. Or you could identify potential problems before they even arise.
That's wild.
It is pretty amazing, and the possibilities are really endless.
So it's like web analytics on steroids?
Basically, yeah. But the important thing to remember is that technology is just a tool. The real magic happens when we combine that technology with human ingenuity and empathy.
That's a great point. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not just trying to optimize for conversions.
Right.
We're trying to create meaningful experiences for real people.
Exactly. Experiences that are both enjoyable and effective.
I love that, enjoyable and effective. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Well said. So it's like web analytics on steroids.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the important thing to remember is that technology is just a tool.
Right.
The real magic happens when we combine that technology with human ingenuity and empathy.
That's a great point. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not just trying to optimize for conversions. We're
Yeah.
trying to create meaningful experiences for real people.
Exactly. Experiences that are both enjoyable and effective.
I love that. Enjoyable and effective. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Well said. Well, this has been incredible. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of what's possible with web analytics.
We really have.
But I think the big takeaway here is that this data, it's not just numbers. It's people, behind every click, every scroll, every interaction. There's a human being with their own unique motivations and desires. And if we can tap into that understanding,
Yeah.
we can create some really amazing experiences online.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about, right?
It is. Well, on that note, I think we're going to have to wrap things up for today.
Okay.
But thank you so much for joining us and sharing all these incredible insights.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening, be sure to check out Acalytica's website to learn more about how they're helping businesses unlock the power of web analytics.
Absolutely.
And until next time, keep exploring those digital depths, and remember, the future of the web is all about understanding the humans behind the screens. All right.